We're going live in five, four, three, two, one. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Whoa, weren't expecting that. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Marcus Julian Carbo here at TCWM Studios in Philadelphia, hosting the G-Cast here on Thursday, June 4th, 2020, going into the later half of our second month or our third month of quarantine, so almost 3 months total of quarantine in most parts of the world, not just in the country. And I'm here today with my freshly poured cup of tea and about 3 weeks off my brain inducing pellets. No, just kidding. Here in Philadelphia, feeling good. It's hot in the Northeast now. The air conditioners are officially on, which I know my brethren down south in California and in the Southwest are laughing at our balmy 80 degrees, 85 degrees, but that's enough to make sure that the air is flowing around the house. Once again, we've got two fantastic Tai Chi Fit instructors within our Tai Chi for Veterans program, and they're going to be joining us later on in the Chi-Cast as we go deeper and deeper into the campaign, working with your veteran community and getting the benefits, the joy, the reliefs of Tai Chi, not just to our veteran community, but to the entire community surrounding us all. And that really comes down to what's been on my mind this morning. And that is the concept of us all. There are when we look out into the news right now, there is a real divide between all the sides, and we look at every single tablet. I mean, when you think about when you're born with every label under the sun. You've got 30, 40 labels that can be placed upon you: what religion you are, what nation you are, ethnicity, what state you live in, what town you're from, what your parents do, what you're interested in, what your hobbies are, what organizations you're a part of. Are you a parent? Are you a grandparent? Are you a Tai Chi player, yoga player, Pilates player? Are you a boxer, a martial artist? Like what? There's so many different labels that we put on each other. And the unfortunate part of the labels is that they serve not as an organizational purpose, but as a separation purpose. In fact, anytime you label something, it quite frankly is an act of violence, right? You are separating yourself from the whole, and that's problematic, right? When we start to see anything, anybody, anything as separate from us, we start to change them, right? We start to put up those fences and those walls. And if the distance between us and them is wide enough, which is close enough that we come into contact, then that can lead to an incredible amount of conflict. Because within that separation is an inherent desire to protect what is yours from who is not. And that, in a nutshell, is kind of what we're working with in the world right now. On the one hand, we see it with the coronavirus and COVID-19, where it affects all human beings equally, assuming all the conditions are the same. But as we know, there are populations, there are neighborhoods, there are cities and towns that are being affected by the coronavirus much more than other communities. And there are interlocking factors in that: economics, overall health system, education, socioeconomics. All these things play a part in whether or not your neighborhood is going to be highly affected by the coronavirus or not. Flash forward 2.5 months into this quarantine, and we've got the protests in the streets and a lot of civil unrest going on right now. And this civil unrest is all around the dividing lines of who tans better. I'm not going to lie, I am in many ways. When I say that I have moved and grooved and worked toward getting rid of labels in life, I mean that sincerely. And when we change the way we approach these things, when we change our own internal perspective, now this doesn't let us off the hook for systemic change, because systemic change is baked into the cake. That is case law, that is the law books, the whole nine. So there are systemic things that we do, in fact, need to address, and then we need the labels for organization until we don't need the labels anymore. But internally, you can start the process of getting rid of that yourself. How so? When referring to anybody, when telling a story about someone, those things that generally that person can't help and that aren't pertinent to the story, those details should be left out. So when somebody says, "Hey, where's Charlie?" you don't say, "Oh, it's the Asian lady in cube C9." You say it's the lady in cube C9, she's got a purple blouse on, right? Or she's got some fancy shoes on or something like that, or maybe she wears her hair in a certain way. Or but if you draw attention to choices that that person makes, and by choices I mean how they dress, how they do their hair, the accoutrements that they don themselves in, when you do that, you have personalized that person. You have actually taken what they want attention drawn to and empowered it. We are culturally conditioned to use these default labels of race and ethnicity because, again, that goes back to those systemic problems. But you, on the internal, because the world has to change both internally and externally. In fact, the way you live your life is going to be the greatest proponent of change out there. So, my big challenge to you, as it is Thursday and going into the weekend and just before our first guest arrives, is to do your best to try and drop labels from your lexicon. When you interact, when you tell stories, when you're um, sitting alone thinking, let those go and begin to move as one, just like we do in Tai Chi. And speaking of moving as one in Tai Chi, we have with us a very special, one of my favorite Tai Chi instructors in Tai Chi Fit International, the great, the powerful, the wonderful, Madon Daly from Kansas. How are you, Madon?
Yeah, from Kansas. It's like ignore the man behind the big screen. You know, he thinks he's a wizard, but he's not. Not Marcus. Marcus is a wizard. So how are you, my dear friend?
Don't give away my secrets. I am good this morning, Madon. How are you?
Great. Good. Very good. It's
I
always a
am so
pleasure seeing your smiling face.
yes, and I'm in the future for you. Am I not? You're in the Central Time Zone, so we've
Yes.
got some time traveling going on right here, which is always fun. How are things in the past?
I'm sorry, in the path or past?
In the past,
Past.
how are things an hour ago?
An hour ago. Well, it's, weather's, we had a storm and a lot of branches are down. Everyone wants me to go pick them up, but it's fine. It's normal. It's
Oh,
just a normal
really?
day. But the sun
Really?
is shining, the mowers are out, and it's going to be a great day to do some Tai Chi.
It's funny you say that. My area and all up and down the Northeast corridor, we got slammed with a bunch of thunderstorms yesterday, and my thought actually went out. to Kansas and Oklahoma and Nebraska and sort of that tornado alley and thinking you guys have probably started that whole season as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you want to know about what's going on with climate and weather. The tornadoes used to follow I-35 diagonally through Kansas. They would come in from Oklahoma, and they would go up diagonally to Kansas toward Kansas City, and they followed the I-35 corridor just right down the road. But now they've shifted, and we really don't get tornadoes. We used to get 2 tornadoes a year. You get children learn at a very early age that when the sky turns orange and gets
Yeah.
very still, or green and it's very still, probably time to head to the basement.
Ooh. Ooh. So you actually become conditioned to what to look for and how to prepare. Does it become almost routine for you then when these storms pop up?
Yeah, it's not a thing. It's not a thing. It's always interesting when they put out the watches and then the tornado warnings, and you can go outside and I know my daughters learned when they were by 5 to be able to go and say, no, it's not going to come here, or yes. And at the time, my youngest daughter, she even had a safe room created under the stairwell in the basement so that she had it
Oh wow.
packed with the batteries and flashlights and a radio and water and snacks and yeah,
So you
sleeping
guys
bag.
look
She
at
was ready.
you look at tornadoes the way Boston looks at snow would be my guess, huh?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
that's
And in
pretty
the winter, we
cool.
mainly get ice. So
Oh, that's true. That is true. You have some rough winters out there too, right? Because all of that Arctic air from Canada just gets funneled down in between the Rockies and the Appalachians.
yeah,
So what is winter like out there?
it's not anything like it was even 10 years ago. It's changing.
Yeah,
Now we used to get several good snows a winter, and
sure.
now we had maybe 2 snows that had maybe 2 inches, just
Wow.
just enough to kind of track in when you go for a walk. Our main thing that we get is ice.
Yeah.
We get a lot of ice, which is always
Wow.
good, which is why it's one of the first things that I appreciate about Tai Chi was learning to be careful and, like I should go on walking so that you're not going to slip on the ice. And it saved my sorry hide this winter because I just had to go across 20-foot little driveway and it was black ice. And, I relaxed my hips, sunk down, and just gradually felt the heel of all the foot, come down, see if it's okay, and then lift the other one. And I got trucked right along. So I do a lot of times, especially with the older ladies and gentlemen in my classes, talking about how to walk safely in
Yeah.
ice and ice stuff. Comes
No, I,
naturally.
I I love that perfect segue into how Tai Chi translates into not just what you do in class, but how you approach life in general, including snowstorms and walking in the ocean and all sorts of fun stuff. So how is life? How is the Tai Chi life out there you're near Topeka, right?
I am in Topeka. Yeah.
Yep. So
Um,
how is the Tai Chi culture of Topeka?
I really appreciate the Tai Chi for Veterans community that we have
Hmm.
because I think I'm the only one in the state. And, it's kind of like a tumbleweed in Palm Spring or in Miami. How's the tumbleweed population doing in Miami? And they're going, what? Tumbleweed? We don't have those. So it can be a little lonely. We have, there may be 4 people that do Tai Chi. A lot of them are semi-retired or, so it's, I'd say again, I really appreciate the community that you and DDR have created for the Tai Chi for veterans and Tai Chi Fit programs because there is that commonality we need to feel, and it's a great place.
It is. It's funny how Tai Chi is this internal art, but it's also this community builder. And it has been fun. We do live in magical times now, though,
Yeah.
I'm speaking from the future for you, and you're speaking in the past. technically. But there is real distance between us. You're about halfway through the country. I'm all the way on the East Coast, and yet we're able to discuss and break bread and commune with one another and like ideas and share thoughts with the entire world, with our entire audience that is watching us. No pressure, by the way.
Yeah, no
We've got
pressure.
about 10,000 viewers right now. Careful
10,000?
now.
Great, great.
Not quite,
I'm
no.
fine. I started doing when everything started shutting down. I started doing Tai Chi online, just free classes to help relieve stress. Just give some people a place to come and spend 30, 40 minutes just to breathe and relax and just empty their minds and you know flow. And
Yeah.
it was interesting um, that I just advertised on Facebook just on my own personal feed, and I've had, I mean, anywhere from 2 to 25 people there,
Hmm.
and the people from my little tiny hometown that I grew up in, and just it's interesting, we all create kind of webs of interconnections in our lives, and I always tell us if I have a conversation with someone in an airport or whatever, it's like, there are no accidents. And the connection is here for a reason. And it's not for me to judge what that is. It's just to be
Hmm.
open to what it might be. And so it's interesting to see how those have kind of come together during this time, and how I've been able to touch people I had almost forgotten about.
So you find that our current circumstances have actually been strengthening toward your practice and toward the practice of those that you lead. That's interesting.
Yeah,
Talk a little more
yeah,
about that.
it is. Well, I think it was interesting. A lot of the people that perhaps only have been coming to my live in person touchy feely classes, they were hanging on to that thing about no, I when I can see you again, we'll do it. When I offered it through Zoom, though, then they could see each other, and that relieved a lot of that. Am I really here all by myself? uh, and I have to wait 2 months. But it was like, okay, oh, there's Janice and there's Nancy and there's George, and I can see people. Um, so that helped create that, communal bond. Or I'm not just standing here by myself doing Tai Chi. I can see everybody else is there too.
Yeah.
And that's why I started using a virtual background I started doing it out in my little garden when the weather was a little cooler. And that they like that too.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, I love your background. It's absolutely gorgeous.
thank
And
you.
if that's the space you get to walk around in, I'm very jelly. So what brought you to Tai Chi, Madon?
7 years ago, I was a mess. I had broken my wrist slipping on black ice. I had gained a lot of weight. I was afraid to step off a curb. I did a face plant in front of a crowd of people more than once because I couldn't see the edge of the step, and my knees let go of me. And so I had a back brace, I had 2 knee braces, I had wrist braces, felt terrible.
Mhm.
And I'd started meditating back in 1974 when I was working on my master's degree. It was in Kansas geology, and we had this unique mentor in there that had gotten his doctorate at in Boulder, University of Colorado in Boulder. And he was, if he wasn't a geologist and a college professor, he raised cattle in a town that was flooded in 1952. He has a unique
Wow.
story here. But the first night, because it was like a 24-hour session, we went out and we slept under the stars and we looked for rocks. And anyway, he taught me some great things. One of the first things was to to observe with all of your senses instead of trying to categorize something, see what's really there. And I ran up one time and said, Dr. Bridge, what's the rock? What's this rock? What's this rock? He goes, that's an apple. That's not an apple. I said, maybe it's an orange. What? He goes, you just need to sit down and get acquainted with that rock. And when you've made a good friend with that rock, you come up and tell me about it. And that was like a moment that just changed completely how I looked at, as a scientist, how I looked at nature and things were happening. People to not start putting people in little, cubbyhole boxes, Apple, but to just really learn all about them. He also, the first night, he had us all lay down on this wooden floor and see how many fingers we could get under our small of our back. And then he led us through guided imagery and meditation and tightening parts of the body and releasing them and just the whole thing. It was like Tai Chi laying down. And after that, I could get no fingers. My whole body had just relaxed and melted down. And there were several times that summer that I just had these mind-blowing aha moments. It's like, oh my gosh. One time he led us through a guided imagery where we went, up the path to the mountain, and there was the wise old man on the mountain who could answer any question we ever had and tell it all infinite wisdom. So I was up there and I said, so if you know everything, why haven't I known this before? He said, you didn't look. It was just like you never looked. Oh my gosh. So I've taken the time to look since then and listen and feel. And I think Tai Chi, back to from my tangent, I tend to go off. Back to when I was 64, I tried all these different, my daughter's going, do this one, lift weights, do dancing fast, everything. It just kept getting worse. And I saw that one person was teaching a Tai Chi class at the YMCA. So I went in and felt better. It's just kind of like my whole body went, oh, I'm home. Thank you. And over the next 6 months, I started getting rid of the braces. The doctor no longer said when I walked in the door, let's schedule that knee operation. And 7 years later, everything's fine. I can go down steps. I can step off curbs. I have been free of any kind of imbalance that puts me on the ground since then. So it is completely, I feel like I'm 25 years younger. And I'm actually more flexible and stronger in a lot of areas now than I was when I was 25 years younger. I'm not going to give you that number.
That is inspirational. Absolutely inspirational. I love hearing stories like that. So when did you make the leap from enjoying the Tai Chi to sharing the Tai Chi?
Sharing? Well, the instructor at that Y class, she said, my husband and I are going on a vacation. Would you like to substitute for me? And I went, okay. And, I've spent probably 35 years either in education or training people, everything from gifted children when they were in kindergarten, through graduate students in educational psychology. So I know that the teacher always learns far more than the students ever do. You don't truly learn until you're teaching and leading somebody else and helping them gain. So that was the first thing. The other thing is that if you're in front of a group and the best laid plans don't go right, you just go with the flow. And no reason to clench and go, oh my gosh, class is over. So that's what I did. I just started in and people were very helpful. So you only did it twice. We're supposed to do it 3 times. Okay, this is going to be my counter. Good, you guys count. Who's going to tell me what to do next if I stand here and look confused? These people. So we had a conglomeration of helpers and I still have people that if I forget how many times I've waved hands, they'll say that was twice. Thank you.
And, so your strategy is to actually have someone in the crowd guiding you along.
Well, some of the people, they've been doing it for as long as I have. And so they can tell you, on the routines I was doing, they can tell you exactly what comes next. No, you're supposed to go that side first. Thank you. And that foot goes out. Okay, thanks. So I have a lot of retired teachers and administrators from the school district. They're very, it gives them a chance to put things in order again. They like doing that.
Very nice. Very nice. So then,
I'm sorry. I was going to say, during the whole process, more and more it becomes muscle memory and you internalize it. And I really focus on the breathing and, just you watch your hand or whatever. So there's nothing, it's just just moving and relaxing and enjoying the moment and smiling.
There it is. So, speaking of smiling and enjoying the moment, what is one of your favorite, maybe embarrassing, moments as an instructor?
As an instructor, well, a year ago in the spring, we hadn't done, there was one routine. We had some new people, and they really wanted to learn the routine we did on Monday, Wednesday. And so when Thursday came, I suddenly went blank. I went, we'd gone outside because it was one of the nice days where it wasn't too hot, too windy, too rainy, whatever. So we were standing out there. I said, okay, here we go. And one of the people who had been a librarian and a building administrator, she said, "You don't remember, do you?" I said, "I could use a little help." Okay, so here's what we do first. And it's funny because she has really bad macular degeneration. She has trouble seeing everything. So for her to pick up on that and saying, "Here's what you do first." I said, "Okay, now what do I do?" Then the body kind of fall and sink and say, "Okay, here we go." So that was maybe an embarrassment. Marcus, I learned a long time ago not to get caught up on embarrassing moments because everybody has them.
Absolutely.
Everybody. Yesterday, I went to see about buying trees for our community at Lowe's, and the cashier, it was extremely warm in there. She had worn all black, and she'd walked about 5 miles from her home to work in the heat. And she just said, "I can't breathe," and she started passing out. And as soon as we got her, stabilized and some water and calming her breathing, she's going, "I'm so embarrassed. I'm sorry." I said, "No, everybody has those. Everybody, if you haven't had one, we all have those. Oh my gosh, I can't imagine how embarrassing that would be. It will
Sure.
happen."
Sure.
Every-
Sure enough. Yeah, there's no way once when you go in front of people that often, there's absolutely no way that you're gonna nail it every single time and completely get it perfect. So, how has the Tai Chi Fit flow, the philosophy, has that helped with ironing out some of those gaffes, if you will, that pop up, or at least make them easier to hide as you go forward?
You don't see what I'm doing now. um, I think the thing I really appreciate about it is the breaking down each move
Yeah,
and doing it like 3 times, and then like, this. And then now we're going to bring the hand out and it just sits here. And now we're going to let it go down. So that that method of teaching, breaking it all down 3 times, adding another little part 3 times, and then relaxing and putting it all together and then watching it transition into something else. I really, really like that method of teaching. And the people, when this is the first week I've been out and about teaching classes. They opened up the Y, but I refused to do it in the building because the circulation, sweating, gasping people, and no one wears a mask except. So we've been doing it outside under a awning. It has picnic tables, and I've been putting in more and more of the Tai Chi flow and using that with the other movements as well in terms of, letting go, relaxing, there's nothing to worry about, and giving them more analogies. Um, so, the shifting the weight, a little bit of a sway here. Now, like sands, so as the sands of an hourglass, so go the days of we're over here. The shifting the weight and the people, I thought it's interesting. These are people that have been taking Tai Chi for at least a year.
sure.
And one person was brand new. Um, but they've all said each day, these were the best classes that you've ever had. This is the best class I've ever had. I love this. And before, sometimes when I was doing the other routines, they were a little bit more regimented and where a
Yeah,
foot goes and what it does. And so I think that letting go of anything that you have to do, saying there are no, I said, this is all about what your body, if I go this way and your body says, okay, that's okay. It doesn't matter. It's all about what your body feels like doing, and just do it slow. And if some part of your body says, I don't like that one, then just move, tweak a little bit. Maybe if your foot was here, just turn it just a tiny little bit and go, okay, I'm good. Give your body a chance. If you have a descending vote somewhere on your knee, just give it a little attention, move a little bit, inhale, exhale, and then see. And then we get unanimous votes. The whole body's in this with us together. Let's go. So
Very
it's,
nice.
yeah, it's been, I really, really appreciated the whole thing. And just the general idea of just watch. You don't have to learn anything. You don't have to worry about where a foot or an elbow is. Just watch and relax, let go, have fun. I am seeing more joy this way in their faces instead of you know,
No
it's
Tai
hard to
Chi.
get slow when they're going, what do I do?
That is fantastic, Madon. Tell everybody where they can find you online.
Okay. Tai Chi Health, 3 separate words, on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, Twitter. I say Twitter, yeah, pretty much Tai Chi Health.
Okay.
YouTube, yeah. And look
How
for
did
the,
you corner the market on that one?
I don't know. I formed an LLC last fall,
Huh?
and a lot of the different things were, taken, and I just put in Tai Chi Health, and it was available, so I just kept going with it. So far, so
Bam.
good.
Good
Now
stuff.
there's some places you have to identify the face or something, because I don't look like some of the other people that may have somewhere in their descriptions have Tai Chi Health in there that, globs, you know, the webs, spiders get in there and grab a hold of that. So
Good.
you
Yeah,
might
that's
have.
true. All right. Thank you so much, Madon, for hanging out with us on the Chi-Cast today. We're going to have you back because there's so
Okay,
much more to your
anytime.
story that I want to hear. And thank you. Thank you for everything you do in the Tai Chi for Veterans program,
Absolutely.
and for all your efforts to the veteran community and your community at large. There's something to be said there for you. Big places. But with that said, check out Madon at Tai Chi Health in the Kansas area and coast to coast. We're going to bring them in. We're just going to funnel them right into Kansas. We all meet in the center,
Right.
and we're going to make the world a better place. One
Absolutely.
Madon class at a time. No pressure.
Pleasure, Marcus.
All
Bye.
right. You have a great one. I will talk to you soon, Madon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
And again, that was Madon Daly with Tai Chi Health hanging out with me at the TCWM studios. Although she was in Kansas, because happy, or doing our best part to keep in line with social distancing. Not that I have the budget to fly her out to Philadelphia and have a sit down, but maybe. So, like, share, subscribe, do all that stuff at Tai Chi with Veterans on YouTube, as well as Tai Chi Fit International, and as well as the Share Network and Tai Chi with Marcus, both on Twitter, Facebook, Patreon, and YouTube. You can find us anywhere. And at some point, we're going to consolidate all that stuff. I don't know. It's out there. More for you to absorb. That's what it really comes down to. The idea is to make as much content as possible so that wherever you turn, you can be in that space. It's not about us creating, it's not about being in that space 24/7, but it is about having that space available when you want it. And so the more content that we put out and the more you support us, actually just helps us get more content and create more space for more people. And that's really what this journey is about. And here's the thing, it's more than just the Gcast, right? You can take classes, and webinars, and all sorts of fun stuff. You can become an instructor. All of that is available at taijifit.net. You can learn from the great himself, Mr. David Dorian Ross, Dr. Tai Chi, and my personal hero. And I mean that. I absolutely do mean that. I can't. Now, I have been doing Tai Chi for almost 10 years. I met David Dorian back in, I want to say, 2017. I met him. And it was just for brief. I was hosting Philadelphia's online World Tai Chi Day. And he obviously was doing the 24/7, the one that I did this year, which was pretty cool. And I got to meet him. I knew of him. I had seen his videos, and I had stolen most of, well, appropriated much of his techniques, and was working them, working them, working them, working them, working them. But that was really the only interaction I had with him. We were just, you know, it was all happenstance, and if you build it, they come, and so on. Many years go by, 2 years, in fact, and we meet back up again because of the veterans program. And at that point, I'm the head of the Tai Chi program here in Philadelphia. So a lot had changed, and him and I tend to see very. In fact, I was in a meeting with him yesterday, and it's very rare that you get the opportunity to see eye to eye with someone so in depthly. And I'm not trying to become a professional brown noser here, but it's rare. It is rare. When you live on the fringe, when you are willing to go against the tribal mind, it can be very rare to find someone who is of like ilk. And so it's important when you do find those people to learn from them, and to break bread with them, and to evolve with them. Very, very, very important. Because we're all students, no matter how long you've been doing what you're doing, no matter how long you've been on the planet, no matter how much of an expert we think we are, how many letters we have after our name. The reality is we're all students perpetually. The moment you stop being a student is the moment you kind of just stop and you get frozen in time, like those post-apocalyptic movies where you've got your protagonist walking around amidst our ruins 100 years into the future, right? So the world has, in many ways, stopped, and you don't want to do that. And that's one of the things that Tai Chi really brings to the table, is just constant learning through fun. And I know that sounds like a child's PSA, but with Tai Chi Fit, you really are just having fun and learning these skills. You're learning without learning. It's really cool. Really, really cool. One, for the instructors, if you're thinking about being an instructor, thinking about signing up for our instructor subscription plan, it's second to none, because while the training behind the scenes is difficult and challenging, the classes themselves are actually a lot of fun, and there's not a lot of pressure, because a lot of what you're doing behind the scenes without anybody knowing it. You don't have to critique and correct and all that. There's none of that. There's none of that. And one of the reasons for that, one of the great benefits of that, is the students that do want to get into that, they'll make themselves known. You know, the flow, the basic routine that we do in Tai Chi Fit, you can do in a little under or a little over a half hour, depending on what your speed is. So if you block out an hour, that leaves another 20 minutes, 15 minutes or so, to just play around and do some traditional stuff with your folks. Right? Now, it's not a part of the routine. You're doing it off on your own, and that's all fine, well, and good. But if you're not done playing, play on, play to take it right out of the 90s. Oh, my goodness. So, as we wait for our next guest to show up, I want to remind everybody that tonight we have the Tai Chi Fit Hangout. This is the first one of the month, so it's open to all of the Tai Chi Fit instructors. So make sure you check that out, meet with DDR. He's got some huge things that are coming out tonight. as far as where we're going in the future and some things you're going to really be interested in and want to follow. I know what they are. I can't tell you, even though I'm nipping at the bit to do just that. So check it out tonight. There's going to be a big thing going on for the next little bit that you're going to be a part of, and there may be something in it for you. That's right. We're trying to bring everybody in to Taiji Fit family. So as you move through your day, keep that in mind. The webinar starts at 4:30 p.m. Pacific time. That's 7:30 p.m. Eastern, and one back, one forward if you're Mountain or Central. Flip it respectively. There you go. So yeah, good stuff. I don't want to do any spoilers, so we'll just let him do his thing. But I really do think I know that if you are even slightly curious about what's going on tonight, go check out the webinar. Check it out, check it out, check it out. There's going to be some good stuff into it tonight. And in dealing with this new world, like that's really the key here. And that's really what's going on. The world is changing. In reality, the world is always changing. The universe is always changing. But we find ourselves in a moment where it is changing very rapidly. And what's going to emerge from that, there's no way of knowing. But I know we have a vision for that. I know that we do. Our vision is one of a unified humanity, of a unified humanity that the oppressed are defended, that the weak are defended, that the disenfranchised are made equal, that we begin to focus on the things that make us the same more so than the things that make us different, that we stop labeling, that one day that every person on this planet get rid of ideas like they and them and replaces them with I and me. And what do I mean by that? When I say I am Mark, that's what I mean. And speaking of Mark, here he is. He's muted just so he knows, so he can unmute himself. But Mark is one of our vet corps coming down from New England up there in Maine.
Hey,
Very, very, I
hey.
wish I was in Maine right now because it is super humid and hot here in Philadelphia. Good morning, Mark. How are you, brother?
I'm doing quite well. I had a nice outdoor Tai Chi class this morning, 7:15.
Fun.
Looking up, there's a little fog in the field, and looking up at Cadillac Mountain. Um, but by 7:30, jackets are coming off. And the sky is completely blue, not a cloud in the sky. So I had to imagine when we were doing wave hands like clouds, which we do anyway. But no,
Sure.
it was an incredible, wonderful way to start the day. So, and I quite like
Yeah,
it.
and it sounds like it started early.
Yeah, I do a flow show from 7:15 to 8
Hmm.
with some local folks.
Cool.
And then at 8 o'clock we transition right into Yang 40, which is
Fun.
interesting because I know about 20 of the moves from Yang 40, and they're rapidly catching up with me. So, which is the motivation to start learning
To keep
more.
going.
Right. If I can be that far ahead. But no, it's a really great crew. What was interesting to me this morning is one of the gentlemen that joined us is a retired emergency room physician. In fact, he used to run the emergency room here on our little island, Mount Desert Island Hospital, and he's very active in search and rescue. So he's one of those scientist types, doctor types. He's constantly looking at studies, and he and his wife have gotten into Tai Chi. And so today he was talking about studies that he's read, how it's the best thing out there for working on balance, and how when you're doing some of the moves and you step forward and able to step back, that when you're off in a trail and your foot hits a root or something, that's exactly what you do without falling down. So it's like, all right, so this gentleman who hasn't done Tai Chi before, lots of hiking, lots of physical exercise, has discovered Tai Chi and found that he has a way to relate to it, which I thought, wow, that's pretty cool.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
And you yourself have actually gained quite a bit of benefit from Tai Chi. Yeah?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So um, I've always had kind of a lifelong interest in martial arts. Although for a lot of years, my interest took the form of just watching way too many kung fu movies. Every Jet Li movie out there, of course, all the Bruce Lee stuff, and then even the, you know, Crouching, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, all those. Yeah, I love that stuff.
Yeah.
But for a while, when I was young, so this will think back to where you were or weren't in the world back in the would have been the spring of 1975. So you probably were just an idea then.
I don't even think I was that.
Yeah. So in the spring of 1975, I was a young airman in the Air Force, and I was living in the barracks, and a couple other barracks rats and I were just bored with being in the barracks. And so we looked around for something to do, and we saw, oh, karate class, let's do that. So we called up the area college and said, no, it's full. Well, what else do you have? Well, we got judo. And judo was perfect. So I did judo for a
Sure.
couple of years. It was a guy who was retired Air Force, and he had he was a Vietnam vet and lots of stories and a real character. And that's how I met my first wife. He said, hey, Mark, come back to class tonight because I've got, my girlfriend and her roommate from college is coming down. And so I came down and he used me as for a demo and made me look good, the way a master can do. And it turns out, see, I thought she knew. I went up and I was talking to her. I thought she knew it was like a double date kind of thing. But she didn't. She was like told, oh, there's going to be a whole bunch of people come watch the class. And she just thought I was just a nice guy that came up to talk to her, which I like to think I was. Anyway, wow, this started out from how did Tai Chi affect me?
To how to pick up your future spouse at your Tai
it's
Chi
like
class.
hiking. It's like hiking out here. You can follow the trail with all the blazes, but then there's this one that looks like a trail that looks pretty interesting. And before you know it, and I figure, well, as long as I'm going uphill or downhill, eventually I'll get where I need to go.
It'll all work out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like when I'm out sea kayaking, if the coast is on my left, I can't get too lost. All I have to do is
That's
turn
true.
that way and paddle, and I'll figure out where I'm at. But anyway, so the Tai Chi story is, something I found later. I had an interest in it. For a while, I tried to learn the Yang 24 from a Chinese professor at the Naval Research Lab in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
He was an old school classics guy. Do this, follow this, and oh, that's the wrong. Your weight should be here, and your hand should be. And for a young guy who was kind of distracted easily, it didn't work for me. So I put it
Sure.
aside. Around the same time, I was taking Taekwondo. Then I ran into that period where I was just watching the movies, and then I discovered Aikido, and that felt good. And until I remembered at this time I'm in my 50s, early 60s, not 18 anymore, and I just launched up and didn't quite get into a circular pattern to land, and landed right on my shoulder and thought I broke it. Rushed off to the emergency room, and I thought, I'm getting too old for this break your body stuff. And then about 2 years ago, I found there was a an organization. I had actually hired a Tai Chi teacher, and she had gotten certified through Tai Chi for Health Institute, Dr. Lamb, and I, there was a group here that were kind of associated with them. They brought me in, and I had an affinity to it right away. It was like, here's magnetism, and it just resonance. That's the word I was looking for. It resonated with me like nothing else had in a long, long time. And I also, by this time, I had had over 20 years of teaching individual physical skills to people, from canoeing to sea kayaking to physical fitness to, and I discovered that's what really kind of turned me on, was the passion to coach. I was
Sure.
not a coach. I wasn't like a Little League coach, but it felt like coaching, or more like a facilitator of learning experiences. Like I train lifeguards and swim instructors and that
Yeah.
kind of thing. And it was training them more than just the skill itself that lit my fire at the end of the day. So putting together the Tai Chi, becoming an instructor, even though, I was one of those weekend wonders, but it put me on the path, and I started working with people and started doing it, and I started practicing on a regular basis, and my life just got better. So way back from when I recognize now, after a lot of years of work, but I recognize now that even back when I was young, 19-year-old airman, I had pretty much been dealing with depression most of my life.
Okay.
And of course in the military, going after mental health, going for help with mental health, was a little bit frowned upon. When
Sure.
I spent 20 years in the DC area, and the unit I was with had presidential support clearance, because we were in there, we had members of our unit in close and personal with the president all the time. So I had a presidential security clearance. So I wasn't about to go in to the well-meaning psychiatrists on the base and say, answer the question. I made that mistake once. Have you ever thought about harming yourself?
Yeah.
I thought about it years and years ago, and then that led to like all this, and so I fought and resisted that for a long, long time, and I
Sure.
finally found a combination of actual going to therapy, talk therapy, which my wife had to drag me in kicking and screaming in my head. It literally, she described it as, I had to drag you in sullen and sulky. But it was right at
I
that
like
same
your style.
time I discovered the Tai Chi, and I'm more, things like the news used to be able to it would just send me into almost I would just get keyed up where I would be physically, I just couldn't deal with it, and I'd get angry. And as Stephen Covey used to say, that you can, and I don't know if he got it from someone else, but you have different circles that you're within, right? And the bigger circle is all the stuff you're concerned about, but within that circle, almost like the circles back here, that circle surrounding the yin yang symbol is all the stuff I care about, but I might not have any possibility of doing anything about.
Right.
But within is my circle of influence. So if I can take just the things I can work on, and that'll grow my circle of influence. So Tai Chi has kind of done that for me. I've been able to come to the center, just relax, be a little peaceful, and it's made anger issues go away. It's my depression I still, I have, like most people, I have a little ebb and flow, but I'm happy, and I have
Very
to
good.
contribute a lot to the connections I've made. Not just the physical movement of Tai Chi, but the connections I've made trying to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Like meeting you, meeting the rest of the Tai Chi Fit family,
Yeah.
meeting the other people locally, working with the folks that come to me for a class, and helping unlock some of that secret. And I tell them right away that, hey, I'm not a master.
Sure.
I'm a guy with a passion and who wants to share it. And
Sure.
I'm still learning as I go. In fact, I had wonderful. It was DDR that opened it was like one of those eureka moments. Ding. So I was in the band. I'm a former musician, and when you hear the word lute, which is often translated as lute, play the lute, and I used to think of the lute almost like a harp. So I used to
Yeah.
teach. Okay, imagine that it's like a Celtic harp.
Mm-hmm.
So this hand is plucking the high strings. Well, that means you got to take this hand and push it in so that the strings line up,
Mm-hmm.
right? Of course, now what I found out is by doing that, I've shut off the channels of chi, I've added tension, and I was teaching that for a couple of years.
Yeah.
So I was gleefully, I can do mea culpas like anybody. So, hey, I learned something. How about that?
There
It's
you
more
go.
like now you have an instrument with a long, tall neck and a gourd-like resonance chamber where the sound of the vibrating strings resonate, and that has some dimension to it. And we're really not so much plucking the strings with both hands, but holding the instrument, and the other hand's keeping it on your lap, or half of your lap,
Right.
right?
There you go.
And it just made everything so much. It just felt so much better. So I made that discovery. And
Yeah.
how did we get to playing the
Playing the
people
people. I don't know, but you took us there, and you took us there seamlessly. You had mentioned earlier that one thing I wanted to circle it back around to is as Tai Chi helped you through bouts of depression and
Mm-hmm.
mental health. One of the misnomers that a lot of people have is that your Tai Chi folks, your Zen masters, your mindful people, are constantly sort of even keel. Like they reach this level of nirvana and then have no more ups or downs after that. So, can you talk a little bit about how, one, that's just not true, and two, what are the tools that Tai Chi gives you for the low moments, for the high moments in those times?
Oh, that's a good question. Obviously, it's not true.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I don't even know if life. I don't know even know if life would be quite as rich and wonderful if that was true, right? And again, it reminds me a little bit of our circle. It's it moves. It's a flow from one to the other. So I have that up and down and reacting to what the world gives me, and but not fighting it, but it's being the softness overcoming hardness part of Tai Chi. I think that's part of it, and on a physical level, just kind of being more aware, or physical and mental. But I was going with physical because of the breath. But when I feel myself, and the other thing, we ask our participants to relax,
Yeah.
to relax their shoulders. When I started really encouraging that, and I set as a challenge to my students, um, notice throughout the day where you're holding tension. And I'd be sitting there, and
Mm-hmm.
at the beginning, I'd find myself having to go, oh, and my
Yeah.
shoulders would literally drop that much. And I was doing that 20 times a day, usually in and around listening to the news. Or it might have been maybe my wife and I were in a really intense board game, but Tai Chi has helped me just kind of recognize, oh, my body's telling me something.
Yeah.
So relax and breathe. And a long, slow breath, and it's like mindfulness meditation that I still do occasionally, and I think Tai Chi in a lot of ways is mindful, moving mindfulness meditation. You know, an old standby is to just recognize your breath, you know, and in different, however that means to you. And me, I could feel the sensation of the breath coming in through my nostrils, just a little bit of coolness as it comes in, and then a little bit of warmth as it comes out. And just focusing on that, even for 5 or 10 seconds, takes me out of the reactive mode where I want to,
Yeah.
you know, where I want to fight back, and I just go. And like, I guess another wonderful place where it manifests in my life is with my wife, who's a wonderful person, very strong personality. And I'm accused of having the same issue. So we would get into this. Don't use that tone on me. What do you mean I'm using that? Roar, 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 back and forth. And almost like, I don't even know if people some audiophiles now still use vinyl.
Yeah. Yeah.
With the,
Yeah.
you put the needle in the groove, and it's the little rocks in the groove, but you're in the groove. And I've found that so much of my behavior was letting that needle get dropped in the groove and then not recognize it, and I'm stuck in a pattern.
Yeah.
And so that's where Tai Chi has also helped me with, I can take a breath. Ah, there I am. I don't have to be in this groove anymore. I'm just going to scratch the record and pop off the groove and say, okay, that probably sounded a little testy, or maybe it sounded like I barked at you. I didn't
Yeah.
really mean it. What I was feeling was this. And that's made a huge difference. Like the other day, she said, she looked at me, and she's hyper aware of even my body language, which is scary sometimes. I mean, it's wonderful, but it's scary.
Sure.
She looked at me and said, you look a little grumpy. And my first reaction is, I'm not grumpy? What do you mean? I'm not, you know. So I was like, and then yeah, you know what? I am a little grumpy. It's not at you, it's at this, that, or the other thing. So just take a little space and meet that instead of defensiveness, where I used to take it as very defensively. Now I can just go, well, you know what? You're right. Not that she's always right and I'm always wrong, but you know how that is.
Yeah. No.
We're able to have the conversation. We can have hard conversations now that we never used to.
Yeah.
And this is it's not 100% Tai Chi, but that's an element of my life that's helped round and fill out my life more.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think what it is because and I know this to be true for me as well. There was the time when you were practicing the art itself, and then there came a point where you started applying the art to the rest of your life.
yes,
Right.
yeah,
And it happens very subtly, and there's these sort of insights that you have from here and there and whatnot. Certain things start to work, and it's like, well, wait, maybe I should adopt this more often. So you practice it more, and then things
yeah,
start to get easier, and you're like, wait, okay, I can do this.
yeah,
my, my
ex-
spouse likes me again.
yeah, which, surprise, surprise, takes a lot of the stress out of my life. So
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's like a spiral. It can spiral out of control. But it can also, the positiveness can have a spiral and bring it back
Yes,
into, yeah, which now in, you know, today and over the past week, that's what that's kind of what I've been trying to do. And I can, there's little things that I can do. One of them is to try to be more compassionate in myself,
sure.
and and try to share a bit of calmness with people around me. My wife called it poking the bear. I poke the bear on Facebook a bit. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't.
You're one of those.
Yeah, I was
So
particularly
am I.
upset
Don't worry about
over the events of the last couple of weeks, but where I've been able to balance that is in our Tai Chi, in our flow, and
it. Yeah.
not even my my classicals, which I found that I have a real need for both pursuing the classical forms uh, for a whole different reason, but also I've really come to like how Tai Chi Fit and Tai Chi for veterans just just flowing, not trying to memorize, just let me take you for a ride and just getting off into that. I really like how that works, and I've been using the heart, the heart opening at the end, where we come up and we channel out to the world. I've been kind of combining that with like Pema Chodron's loving kindness practice.
Hmm.
So I start out just channeling all that good, positive feelings and chi and health and wellness and healing to the world. And then to all those people out there that you love and have a respect and a relationship to. And then at the end, I try to gather even more because that's the easy part. Up to there was the easy part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Trying
Absolutely.
to have a connection and to share the compassion and um, understanding if with people you don't like, that you have anger with, that you
Yeah.
have real opposition to, but and not saying, oh, just be peace, love, and Bobby Sherman, with fascists, but to also not be militarized
Yeah.
in my head, but to try to just say, okay, let's have a connection. Now, that's I have to admit that when I'm doing that with a self-selected group of people who've decided to join me.
Sure.
What I
Sure.
haven't tried doing is like going out on the street corner and doing that. I
Well,
have
what are you
my
doing Saturday?
well, there you go. Yeah, yeah, exactly right. Yeah, and tomorrow there's a person who's often a lightning rod for demonstrations and controversy visiting our state about an hour and a half from
Yeah.
here. So I'm trying to decide whether to go out and partake.
Well, I find that it's a pretty simple question that you have to just sort of ask yourself. Does it feel right to do it?
Mm-hmm.
Not whether I should, whether I shouldn't, but does it feel right? And listen to that instinctual voice.
Right.
And 99% of the time you'll, because it's different than should I do this, should I not do it? It's does this feel like the right thing to do? Which is a little bit of different. It's the difference between that reaction and that
Mm-hmm.
decision you were talking about
Right.
earlier.
I really like that. That's a great way to think about it. Because then
Yeah.
it's not so much a matter of willpower. I should do
Right.
this. And how often, I'm just enough of an American to when someone tells me I should do something, my
You
first
don't want
reaction is
to.
my whole family was, and anyone who knew me when I was young was shocked that I ended up in the military, and even more shocked that I was somewhat successful.
There you
Because
go.
because I have a natural resistance to authority and people telling me what to do, but somehow I survived. But there
You're
was,
like me. You prefer your discipline from within, not from on high.
yeah.
Well, Mark, that is all the time we have for you
Oh
today.
no, that
But
was
I
much fun.
know we could go on, and we shall go on. We're going to have you back on the Cheecast for a longer stint
Excellent.
to really get into the mind of what makes Mark Shun. And either they will love you or they will reject you outright. Either way, you still get to be you,
Yeah, 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 there you go.
which is great stuff. Thank you so much. Tell
Thank
everybody
you.
where they can find you online.
Absolutely. So you can look for me at on Facebook. Look for me at Down East Tai Chi for Vets.
Down East
And
Tai Chi for Vets.
yeah, and we have a YouTube channel, Down East Tai Chi for Vets, as well. Um, and it's a featured channel on. I do this not as an individual, but as a part of the YMCA and trying to reach out and build communities. So if you go to the MDI, as in Mountain Desert Island YMCA, and then on YouTube it's the MDI YMCA, and go to their featured channels, you'll find us.
Very nice.
Down East
Thank
Tai
you
Chi for
once
vets.
again. Thank you once again, Mark, for
My
hanging out with
pleasure.
us today on the Gcast. I'm obviously going to be in touch. I know we have a couple meetings next week, and yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
Thanks for joining us.
thank
Oh,
you for having me. It was a pleasure.
you
All
got it,
right,
brother.
bye
All
bye.
right. That was Mark Schoon from up there in Maine, there in New England, where I am. I'm so jelly. I'm jelly of everybody. Madon's background looks gorgeous, and I know Maine's weather is way better than what we're having here in Mid-Atlantia right now. So I wanted to thank all of you who joined us on the Cheecast today, or who will join us in the future of the Cheecast. We will continue on. Continue on. We're going to be off next week, but we have one more show for you this week, tomorrow. And then once we get back to our normal schedule, we're going to have longer segments with our instructors. We're going to have outsiders coming in. We're going to be doing a whole bunch of different stuff with the Cheecast. And I want to thank you all for being a part of it and helping get the word out. To do that more, make sure you like, share, and subscribe the Cheecast at Tai Chi with Veterans. Share it anywhere with Tai Chi Fit International, or if you're on the Instructor Share Network, share it there as well. Make sure that everybody's getting to see the Cheekcast and all of the great things that our instructors are doing out there in the world. More importantly, and if you're looking for more information on me, I'm Marcus Julian Carbo, and you can find me at Tai Chi with Marcus, obviously, Tai Chi with Veterans, Tai Chi Fit. Yes, you can find me there. And I'm everywhere: Twitter, Facebook, Patreon, indeed. So if you want to help our side quest, as it were, in the community and make this more better distributed to more people, you can support us over on Patreon at www.patreon.com/Tai Chi with Marcus. And you'll find links to that on Twitter and on Facebook and everything. But yeah, come hang out. Come hang out. We've got videos, we've got podcasts, we've got lessons and subscriptions and the whole nine. Come be with us. Come join the family. Come get rid of those labels. Just be you. Find the authentic you that exists. Don't be what everybody else tells you you are. Discover who you are. All right. I'm Marcus Julian Carbo. Thank you for joining me in the Cheecast today. I will see you tomorrow. And until then, I wish you health, happiness, and harmony. Make sure you stay home, stay safe, and take care of each other.